Hello everyone, Eyal here. Let's adjust my camera a little bit. Hopefully you can see me and hear me. So one thing I'm trying to do in this stream is that I'm trying to just have some music that isn't the usual AI music that I'm usually playing, but I'm just going to play this privately, so my stream won't get taken off. So I'm listening to a great Bill Evans album now called You Must Believe in Spring. I wish I could just play it and just talk over it. It would be so awesome. So thank you so much for joining me today on the stream. My name is Eyal, for those who know me. Usually I'm known for things I do, like music or audio coding or making plugins or talking to people about audio and music and whatever. And this is just my hobby. This is something that I'm trying to learn more about. I can't guarantee that I'm the most professional about it, but it's been a dream of mine to learn more about making games, especially from the engine point of view. But also I'm very interested in the actual game making and stuff like that. So I think it's going to be great to spend this time learning to make a game, learn how to make systems like graphics, keyboard, etc. And I've done one stream before that, which I think was awesome. And the idea was I'm trying to make an abstraction around the graphics API. I'm currently using OpenGL, but it's likely that I will evolve into other more modern graphics API in the future, like Metal and Vulkan, or I might use a more modern, abstraction like the new SDL GPU that just came out a couple of months ago, or maybe I'll use something like BGFX. I don't know, undecided. But it's really a learning project. So I like the idea of using OpenGL because OpenGL, first of all, works on modern platforms. Like it works on Mac, it works on iOS, it works on Windows, etc. So it's very portable. Even though at some point Apple or something might drop it, but they haven't yet. So it's still usable on my computer, which is a Mac. And so a lot of this is about learning the pipeline from my needs and educational purposes. So if you would, I'm going to show you a little bit of what I've done so far. But the idea was I'm using SDL let's call it the app framework. But what I'm doing is I'm trying to completely abstract anything to do with both SDL and the OpenGL graphic stuff. So basically, there's no SDL in the namespace of the app or the game that I'll be writing. So the idea is that I'm going to try to write some higher level representation of everything, which is going to be first a good way for me to learn how it works, because I know C++ pretty well, but I might not know how the graphics pipeline works, so I might miss something on how SDL works. So so this is going to be the majority of the series. It's going to be me experimenting and eventually, hopefully, me learning something. And just so everyone knows, I'm streaming this on a few different platforms: Facebook, Twitch, YouTube, LinkedIn, and X, Twitter. Feel free to write a comment and I will just pop it on screen, except for Instagram, which does not allow me to do that for whatever reason. But I can still read the comments and I will try to respond and discuss. Depends on if I have something positive to say. I'm going to try to create teachable moments here for teachable segments when I can talk about C++ or general programming patterns. These are things that I feel more confident about. But sometimes you will see me drawing a blank and kind of trying to read docs to see what I'm doing etc. So let's see if we can still compile the couple of examples I worked on. So this is one of them. It's amazing. Let me switch myself here to the nice corner here. Beautiful. So yeah, so this obviously is the best game ever made. It's a triangle. Usually a lot of these, examples show a triangle, which is, I guess, a primitive of most of these graphics APIs. So I also made it resizable, which surprisingly was not that easy to do, but now it's resizable. It can kind of respond to window size changes and stretch itself. It's nice. I have another example here that's just something that, let's see if it still does that. So yeah, so I don't know if you can see it right here, but it just logs my my key strokes that I'm holding on my keyboard. That was to test how SDL works. And these are all little abstractions I've made so that, for example, let's look at this game that has no graphics in it. Ooh, why is this showing? Get away. All right. Yeah, so as you can see, that this is like just user code. It is that user code can include this little wrapper library. And it includes start app. So sorry, this is something I tested. This is actually not needed. So it just does SDL start app, and it passes as a template parameter my app. And there's an update loop that gets called basically all the time. And this is a good chance, for example, to process keys or to render things, and we'll see the rendering part of that. So all I'm doing right now is that in the update loop that keeps getting called, I'm going through the keys object, and these are all abstractions that I've made. So if we're going to look deeper into this, what this does is this whole thing is kind of like a public API that I made that stores something like the vector of the key event. EA vector is my own vector that I made with specific properties, but it's basically a wrapper around std vector, and it just holds a few important things about the key. And the way that it's implemented is there's this thing I call the lib, which is just all the nitty and gritty wrappers, and then when, for example, this thing registers the SDL main, and here you're going to see way more gore details about how SDL works. So, for example, let's look at the update loop. Where is this? Okay, so this is the update loop that SDL actually calls, and this just translates a few things. Translates everything to like a C++ struct versus the C struct, which is the key event that SDL provides. I was really trying to prevent situations where the user code would need to include SDL directly. I know I am the user, but I really wanted to do that for a number of reasons. One is that SDL is a C library, so it kind of pollutes the namespace, but also it's very likely that I will not be using SDL at least on some platforms. Like it's possible that I would use other types of things, like I might replace components of SDL with my own. So I like the idea that I have some control over how this is laid out. It's actually possible that for iOS I would not have a main function at all. Like I would have some system initialization and then a system events loop, but it should be similar. Like it should still call this the same way when everything happens. And in the rendering app that I have, this one is more complicated and more ugly, to be honest. Here I actually had to write shaders, like these are just like horrible inline shaders that I had to write for OpenGL. And then the app, it's similar. Like it starts the app just with a SDL start app. But here, the way I've done it is that there's these objects that I made. One is called vertex array, one is called array buffer, and the other is called shader program. And those are just like little wrappers that internally, when we call them, like for example, when we initialize them or when we call update which is the same update loop, then we can do stuff like we can do use, and that's going to pass in everything that's needed by OpenGL. Same with draw array of triangles, right? So basically these are just these wrappers, and now I'm going to learn more about how this works, because here's one thing that I didn't like, that as I was doing this I realized. Here currently I just so we're probably going to talk about now about the more nitty-gritty details. So here's the idea. The way I understand it, my understanding is very rudimentary about OpenGL and about graphics APIs, is that when I'm passing this thing called where am I passing this? There you go, the VBO, this array buffer, right? So I want to be able to at some point create a more dynamic shape, not just the ugly triangle. And I want to find a higher level of representing these shapes so that I can provide some sort of abstraction around them. And I'll probably use something like GLM and like a few libraries, but I also wanted some 2D library that would allow me to do something, like create rectangles, create triangles, create circles, create lines, path, all kinds of shapes. So this is my eventual goal in this little project. Okay. Hopefully audio is okay. Hopefully you can hear me. Let me know what do you think. I can see that Mike Melian was, at least for a bit, was on the stream. One of my favorite drummers, artists, and content creators. Okay. Please let me know if audio is okay, if video is okay. So, good. So I want to start with this. So I'm gonna pretty much abuse ChatGPT here, by the way, just because this OpenGL is a world that I know so little about. Okay. So first thing I probably want to do, just so that, kind of get into the rhythm of things, is maybe it would be good to abstract color. Color is such a clean thing. And instead of, this is just a hard-coded pass, and I would like to pass this as an input, I guess, input variable, because I think now so let's ask ChatGPT and see what it knows about it. So we're going to wrap around OpenGL functions, right? So let's remove these comments. I hate them. The variable name is definitely enough here. My shaders looks like this. Now I want to create a dynamic version that passes the color instead of hard coding the orange color. How can I pass this information into the fragment, that's what it's called, fragment shader. Here you go. So that means that there's a uniform vec4 here, and I need to pass that uniform in there. So that sounds pretty good. So let me just copy paste this shader. Shader is so fragile. I never know what I'm doing with them. Okay, so this is my new shader. Okay. Good. So there's a example, use time for dynamic color. Okay, I'm going to ignore this because I'm going to do other things. I'm not even using GLFW here. Or maybe I am. No, probably not. I'm using something else. Okay, so all the swap buffer stuff, I think this is exactly what I'm doing, right? Let's have a look at exactly how I'm drawing everything currently. So currently, SDL, GL. Okay, so it's just there's an SDL version of these OpenGL functions. GLO, GL loader. Okay, so I think I'm doing some of the stuff. Make sure you call GLU's program. Okay, I'm doing all this stuff. GLU's. I think my wrapper is already doing that when I'm for this. I just need to, here it is, GL uniform 4F. So that's really what it is. So I need to, exactly, this is the core thing. So I need to register GL get uniform, exactly. So this is what I need to wrap basically. So I've already have a few little things here, and I'm going to start wrapping them right away. So I wrapped vector array, array buffer, shader program. So I'm need something like a shader or just a uniform, probably. Uniform, okay. And I think GL int is just unsigned int, so I can just do that. So what I can do is I can initialize the uniform with a constant string name to use, or just name, I guess. We'll see in a second if I need to store the name. And I'm not going to be able to use any of this here because this is hidden from the header, but it will be available in my implementation because I want to hide OpenGL from the user. I don't want to make sure my game knows about OpenGL, but it can know about my interface. So I can just do this, name.cstr. Oh, so it needs the program. What does it need from the program? Does it need because I do know the program. Good. Okay, so I could pass the program in here. We can definitely do something like a const shader program. So this would be something like program ID. That's good. And then I can do something like location. I can just use ID. ID is probably a good thing. So ID equals this. So this should be a way to just initialize so that we know what the ID is. And then so I might need to think about, so there's this different thing about if how many values do the uniform have, like this GL uniform 4F GL, right? So can I use this stuff, right? GL uniform 4F, yeah. Okay, so this is where I'm passing the real value, I believe. So I believe that, if I'm not mistaken, this should be something like, yeah, red, green. Okay, so I should be able to set 4 values. So let's call this maybe, oh, that's interesting. Maybe I can just do something like as an interface, I can just do something like set thing, and then just pass these 3 things, and this is going to know that it's the 4 version thing. So it can be something like set float A, float B, float C. And I might make another abstraction on top of that in a second. It's going to be specific to color. But the idea is that this is the 4 value version. Let's move it to the implementation where I can directly call OpenGL. And this is just ID A, B, C, D. Oh, so this is actually not unsigned int. This is actually an int. never know if these things, what kind of type these are. Okay, so this is good. I probably can have some error handling here, but I don't need this for now. This is, I can make it const. Don't care so much, but okay. Yes, and this is pretty much the thing. So the idea is that if I'm in my draw class, I should be able to create a uniform STL uniform color uniform, which is initialized with the shader program and the name, like the literal name from the shader, which is something like for input color. Color, and so it's just going to know what it is, and then I should be able to set it every time that we're drawing. So I should be able to do something like color uniform set with I think probably before I'm using the shader program, I should be able to use set and do something like 1, 1, 1, 1. This should make it white, hopefully. Let's see if that works. Oh, this is the wrong project. I need to compile this other project. See if I'm on the right track in terms of the use of these. Oh, here it is. And look at this beautiful white color. Okay, so I think I got the abstraction generally correct, right? So it's just a way to pass information, but now I should be able to just change the value dynamically. So one thing I'll do, let's just think of some higher level things to do. Like for example, I can let's change the alpha. That's gonna be fun. So how am I gonna change the alpha? This gets called on quite a fast frame rate. I'm not sure if I can if I'm actually getting this at 60 frames per second or just extremely fast. But I'm going to try something just as a very raw thing to do. I can do something like float alpha, right? And just randomly, I'm not going to do something smart here. I'm just going to do this. Going to just be the alpha, and then I can do something like every update function. I'm going to do let's do something like update alpha, and this would just do alpha plus equals some really small thing, and then if let's do something like that. Let's just do that. If alpha is equals greater or equals to 1, then alpha is equal to 0. So this is going to be just the most dumb change that should hopefully be graphically apparent in this test program. Okay, so this does not work yet, right? So this does not look good. Is alpha actually changing? It is. Okay, so there is definitely a problem here, and it does not do what it's supposed to do. I wonder why. Just for fun, let's try another color in here. Another element, even though that's not correct. Okay, so it did change. It's just too slow. Oh, at least the yellow changed. You see, this is the yellow, or whatever, or the blue in this case, or something. Let's make it a bit faster. Okay, this looks faster. I wonder, are those values really 0 to 1? Do I know what I'm doing? Okay, and so is this actually going to be RGBA? Is that what it should be? Hmm. I'm still wondering what in the alpha part worked when I used this. Did I screw something up in here? ABCD, ABCD. Are these color values all 0 to 1? Yes, OpenGL, RGB, and alpha. Okay. That's interesting. So let's see what I screwed up in here. Because it does look like the number is updating. But I don't see any change. Or maybe I do and it's too slow. I can't... that's weird. So why does it work when I use it on the blue and does not work when I use it on the alpha? Like, let's put something else. Because this does work. This does change. Maybe I need to do something for the color to actually contain an alpha, and otherwise it just does not accept an alpha. What do I do in my shader? Oh, maybe this just means that the alpha is always 1. I have no idea. What have I done here? Color, what happens if I just going to pass a 0 here, just a flat 0? Because this should just be black, to my understanding of alpha. Yeah, so it does look like alpha is not working. Okay, so let's ask GPT if it knows anything about alpha values in here. I wish you could hear the music I'm hearing right now. It's so engaging. It's so much fun to code with this amazing Bill Evans piano solo. Right. It does seem like alpha is not working in my use case. Here are my shaders again. And when I use it, I do something like which translates to other values like RGB and RGB are responding correctly, and I'm able to change the values in them. Here you go. So I do need to use GL blend. That's what I thought. So when I'm enabling OpenGL, GL enable, I think I might have used the wrong flag. Where is my flag? GL enable. Okay, enable blending in OpenGL initialization code. Where am I opening the OpenGL stuff? Okay, so I need to do this. And then set the blending function, specifically how source and destination colors are combined. For standard alpha blending, use this. Okay, so should start with the frame buffer. That's interesting. Support alpha. Frame buffer supports an alpha channel. If you're using a windowing library, ensure the context RGBL. Okay. Let's try just this one thing that I just added. I think it still doesn't work. Okay, so probably need the other stuff that he mentioned. Okay, GL blend function. Okay, this looks better. I don't know if you can see this, but I just saw nothing. So that makes me hopeful that if I do this and then add the alpha, I should see dynamic alpha changing. Let's see if that worked. There you go. Look at my beautiful animation. This should now go turn to black and go back in. That's awesome. Let's make this a little bit faster. Look at this. Look at this beautiful, beautiful thing. Yes. I love this. Okay, so this is done well. So let me just commit this so that I know what I'm doing. So I'm going to commit something like added basic uniform wrapper for floats. So this is really just a way to pass these things, and now I can probably I can probably write a color abstraction around this. So yeah, so for example, if I have something like a color class or color struct, I should be able to work with a similar API basically. Okay, so what I want is some normal abstraction where I can do something like set color and store that color. And that's basically going to do the same thing as here. Instead of manually always passing the four things. Yeah, so let's see. I started to write these few things right there here. Probably need to change that namespace from SDL to something else, but I need something like struct color. And that thing does think a little bit more about this, about the right abstraction, because but I'm going to start with this. I'm going to start with something like float R, float G, float B. Let's make them all. Let's actually make it this white by default. I think it's going to make more sense. And then I can have these, this and maybe a nice helper one. Float A to use, float B to use. not A. I'm out of this. R, G, B to use float. Something like that as a nice helper constructor. And what I wanted to do is that if I, does this know all about the geometry stuff? Yes, I should be able, for example, to in the uniform say something like void set color or const color, and it's going to do set color A, color R, color G, color B, color A. Yeah, so just an abstraction that should allow me to do something. Instead of holding these like this, have a color. You know, triangle color. And then this would just be something like A equals alpha. And then color uniform set triangle color. Slightly more. Oh, and I don't even need to store this alpha here. I can just when I'm doing update alpha, I can just do triangle color alpha .a, something like that. Yeah, it's the same thing. So animates my alpha. Looks great. Okay, so this was one way where I created. I don't know if I love this abstraction, but at least it's does let me because I still need the color and the uniform. I could make the color be aware that it's the uniform. I might need to do that in a second, so that they're basically somehow interconnected. I need to think of like what would be the best user experience for me when I'm creating this, because now yeah, like it's possible what I would need to do is I would need to somehow wrap all of these in some I don't know. I need to think of some higher level abstraction where all of these are wrapped, and this could just be like some graphics object that takes care that, for example, if I'm saying, well, take this color object, it needs some way to connect this to the correct place on the shader. I don't know. I'm not sure. But this is a good start. So added basic color objects. All right. So this is my next thing, and then let's figure out what is coming up. So now that I have this, next thing I want to do is I want to work on these vertices, and the vertices, they get passed. Yeah, so I think those get passed here, VBO set. And this is called eventually buffer data. Yeah, so I want to be able to do that as well. Like I want to be able to, for example, rotate these things, or change it to something else. Because right now I have like 3 points. I think these are like basically 3D points, if I understand correctly. Or these are just the points on the triangle. Yeah, I think those are the points on the triangle. But this is like a 3D triangle. I think if I would change this somehow, it would actually become tilted somehow. But I'm not going to do it just yet. How's everybody doing, by the way? Is my audio okay? Is this interesting? I don't know. I still feel like I'm in the dark, but I'm making some progress, right? I'm abstracting one little thing at a time to hopefully get some decent results from this complicated madness, which is graphics. Oh, one other thing. Do I do it right now? Well, let's start with the shape because I want to also learn about gradients. I think this is going to be important to be able to properly do them. All right, so Mr. GPT. Great, that works well. Now I want to discuss how to abstract shapes. Currently, I want to say hi to Music AMG. Thank you for checking out the stream. I'm here working on game engine programming stuff, which is, at least for me, really fun and exciting. So currently, I want to tell it what I'm doing so far. I'm setting the vertices a little like this. Set internally calls GLBind buffer and GL buffer data. I'm looking for a way to express higher level points and shapes on the C++ side that would translate to similar calls. Do you have an idea how to do that? Let's try mini. It's faster for the GPT, I guess. I mean, it is faster, but I'm getting good results from 4.0. It's pretty fast. 4.0 preview is usually a bit slower, but this one is not bad. Okay, create a shape base class. Oh my god, I don't want to do the shape base class, but create a mesh class for OpenGL integration. Mesh, triangle mesh, okay. I don't know if I like this inheritance approach that it's suggesting, but suggesting. Okay, point is easy, right? X, Y, Z. Create a shape base class. So the shape, I don't need a base class. I know what the reason for the base class is, but I can definitely do something that uses a let's start to compose something that's a vector of vertices, and then here you go. Oh, so just so that oh my god, so I can set a shape. This is such a stupid way to do this. There's absolutely no need to do that with a base class. I can just make the vertices itself, just pass that. Okay. But this is pretty much what I need. Okay, so yeah, so now I try to do something like size of triangle. Okay, so I try to do this thing called a triangle with a 3-point. Maybe that's not the best idea. Maybe I'm gonna properly do this with a vector of points and not with a triangle. Yeah, so I do have the point. That's easy. But let's remove this triangle thing and instead do, let's call it shape. Shape, and let's use a my own vector of point called points. Yeah, so I can do something like void. What's the best way to do this? Yeah, let's try this, and then how did it copy the shaders? I'm just going to look at the low-level implementations here because I don't want to do all the object-oriented stuff here. It just makes no sense. Also, for performance reasons as well, but it just doesn't make no sense from an interface point of view. Did I do this thing like with a static draw? Is this something that I did here as well? GL array buffer. Yeah, I did the same thing. So I passed an array buffer with this kind of data. So let's call it something like shape. So vertices size. Okay, so this is just let's call it shape. So this is yeah, so the size is do you know what shape is? Oh, okay, so I can just do I can let's do something first for start. Let's do something like using shape equals let's use my vector. It's gonna be nicer. Vector of point, which would require some int to size d conversions, but should be okay. So this should be shape dot type size of float. But that's weird. Where's the okay. So this still needs to be known that it's a 3. And in another implementation, they say it's not a 3 because it might not be a triangle. I'm confused. But this is just the size of the point. That's what they mean. I guess it's just the size of the point, not the size of the. Let's see. So let's use the same. Is signaling that each point has 3 values. Should interpret the data in the okay. So that's interesting. GL vertex attribute pointer, and I used that already, right? I did use it in shader program. Oh, so I did it in array buffer. Okay. probably need to redo the way I did this because I think it's not so correct. Did it do this thing every draw function, or is this done just once? Does this needs to be set in every render call, or should this be set just once? Okay, So they're saying this part, the binding, this thing, vertex attribute pointer, it's on the setup part. That makes sense. Is there a downside to using this every render call? The downside of this approach, the performance overhead, state revolves computer. Okay, so okay. Okay, so I do need to do that. So I probably only need to set that when that changes. Okay. Benefits significantly from batching draw calls. Probably use VR. Okay. I love that it gave me the comparison. Efficient, slower, repeated state changes. Okay, so I do need some statefulness here on this. Let's see the setup that it used before. Vertex attribute pointer, vertex attribute array. So all this stuff is in the setup. I think my abstraction here is pretty wrong in this case. Yeah, there's also the size member here. I have no idea why does that exist. Probably does not need to exist here. This is store the ID. Where I ever use this? Yeah, that's weird. That is weird. I don't need this stuff. And what does it say that I should call in the draw function? Okay, just draw arrays. What I'm trying to think of is that instead of calling this array buffer, this should maybe specifically be, I guess, a shape buffer or something like that. See that again. We're just using this. Yes, because I think if this is not, yeah, maybe I'll make this specifically for shapes for now, and we'll think about what a better way to do this. Because so this is more like a shape. Shape buffer. Right? How did I use this for other things in my little example? Probably not, right? Just for this. Yeah, I think I just use it for the shape. So let's start with just that, and we'll see if I need to extend it for other things. Might be good to be specific just because shapes are so common, I think. For people just joining, I'm literally just learning how to abstract different kinds of OpenGL patterns for my little game experiments. So maybe what I'll do is I'll make the shape buffer, like here, take this in the constructor. And from what I understand, from if ChatGPT has any kind of consistency here, then I could just do this as a gen buffer. Oh, there's this thing. I forgot about that. Will GL always be 1 in this case? The first oh. What is the first argument of GL gen buffers though? Okay. Okay, multiple IDs. Okay. So it is 1. So it's just, I know what that is. So this can just be assumed 1, I believe, if I understand this correct. This does not need to be the size. This needs to take the shape buffer, and it needs to take the program and the name of that, the name that's related to this. That means that I should be able to do all of this stuff, all this horrible things. I'll be able to clean that shortly, hopefully. So I'm gonna do all of this stuff. Bind. Probably don't even need to expose bind. This can just be called, if I understand correctly. So I can do this. When did he use bind in his example? Okay, generate buffers, bind, and then buffer data. I'm just going to do exactly that. So I'm going to use that, remove this member function. Number of items, in what I understand is 3, because it's always going to be 3. Okay, so I do need to know okay, so regarding GL buffer data, should that be called only every time the number of points change? Because I think that's the correct right way. Okay. Okay, so this is like a more efficient way to this, which I can probably do if, but then I can probably do internally. Okay, so if I understand correctly, this stuff I should be able okay, so there's no optimization here, but I think that this still has to be called every time. Yeah, set. Okay. Look, there's some caching, like a performance caching happening here, where there is an option for me to say, well, if it's the same data as before, don't do that. Don't set the data. Wait. If I already have, if I'm setting new points for the current render call, do I need to bind the buffers again, or is it enough to just call GL buffer data with new information? Yes, you need to bind the buffer. Okay, so binding ensures OpenGL knows which buffer you're referring to for the operation. Okay, so I do need to bind every time. Okay, so this is not in the okay, so I think if I understand correctly, the idea is that I should be able to okay. So there's two setups here. I think bind does not even need to be called here, if I understand correctly. I think bind, this is shape buffer. Yeah, I think that whenever I'm setting this, and I'm going to change this now to be called a shape, const shape. Yeah, so I think this needs to have a bind every time. Bind, and then I should be able to set the data with the data of the shape somehow. And here, if I understand correctly, what ChatGPT suggested for this, yeah, it needs to be something like this, which is basically the size of a point. 3 times offset. I should be able to do the size of point, right? because that's what it is. So it should be okay. Should be statically known, I believe. This is like name. Okay, so this is the error handling, and when they do the when drawing the shape, do I need to but before that, I need to finish this. So GL buffer data. So array buffer. Okay, good. So this is just the size times size of float. Oh, that's interesting. So Jordan says, this is cool. I love your music too. Oh, thank you, Jordan. I appreciate that. Latin Dream went so hard. Yes, yes. So glad people like Latin Dream. One of my favorite songs that I've written. Definitely check out. There's a few versions of that song on YouTube. One is on this channel. But there's another version on the Project RNL channel that is about 7 minutes long and has all these like extended sections. I love that version. So definitely check that live performance as well. One of my favorite songs to play live with that band. So yeah, so I'm glad you like it, and definitely check out the the live performances on the Project RNL channel with a bunch of fun stuff, especially if you like things on this channel. Yeah. And that 22 cover by Taylor Swift was great too. That is awesome. Thank you so much. So glad you liked it. That one had great friends of mine. Ariel Shafir, Richard Saunders was singing. He's awesome. Daniel Jakubovic, or Jakubovic, as we say his name, played guitar. So good. So good. Huh. Here, I'll check it out. Yes, yes. Great stuff on the Project RNL channel. Definitely recommend that channel for a lot of great music and live performances of that song as well, of Latin Dream and Moves Like. There's a bunch of performances of Moves Like Jagger on that channel. There's all kinds of live stuff and other fun music. So yeah, for sure, check it out. Okay. And this channel usually would do, audio related things or music related things as well. But I'm on a tangent in learning, so I'm gonna enjoy my learning process. Anyway, so the thing that was confusing for me when ChatGPT said vertices. Okay, so I see what happened there. So he made vertices not as a vector of points, but as a vector of just raw floats. So what they did was, I think, and I probably should do that as well. So I probably should make shape not be a vector of point. It should be a vector of, or maybe it could be a vector of float, but I need to reorder it. Even though I'm not sure I should, because it should be the same byte-wise. Maybe I'm wrong about this, but it should be the same amount of information. Unless there's some padding. Yeah, but why should there be? Should be okay. I don't know. Like it should be, if I interpret this, look at this straight array, it should still be the same. Yeah, so I should be able to say, well, basically do this shape dot size times so vertices that size, shapes that size times 3 times size of float, basically. So this should be something like a raw size equals this. So this is the raw size, and this should be shapes data. It's not a size t. So what should it be? Am I wrong? Array buffer. What is this expecting me to do? Unsigned long. Okay, so this needs to be so just an int would work here, I guess. All right. Okay, so this needs to be exposed here, something like void set const shape. And I probably could optimize this better, but this is the idea of this shape buffer. The idea is that it gets created, sets up stuff with the attribute location and the name. Oh, and then I should have a draw call, right? So so when drawing, great. Now with I want to understand what are these numbers representing. Would they be different different numbers for different shapes? Different shapes. What would happen if that was a square? Number and GeoGebra arrays. Okay, so I probably need to reinterpret the thing as a triangle anyway. Okay, so we're talking about triangles. Okay, so okay, so I do need to know how many triangles are there. That is important for the more complicated shape. For the vertices. Okay, that makes sense. All right, I need to finish the stream up for now, but I will come back later for another